Hello, everybody. Welcome to, we've changed the name so many times, Community Fit, Reset and Restore. I am feeling a little under the weather today, so I'm not going to pop on and show my face. I'm sorry for those of you who wanted to see me today. James should be on in just a moment, but we are getting ready for our first Reset and Restore class of this spring Community Fit session. Of course, as always, for those of you who have been here, we're always in the background, Raymond and I, or one or the other, for any questions during class, and James is available for questions after class. And yeah, I think that's it. So he should be popping on in just a couple of minutes. I probably won't pop on every class like I have in the past. I'll just let James start right at 12:15. But as you know, we always open up the class a little early so people can get on and get situated and get their mat and their towel, etc., water. So with that, I think I just heard James come in. So have a great class and we'll see you at the end.
Welcome, everyone. Hey, let's check in really quick, make sure everyone can hear and all that good stuff. Welcome to our first Reset and Restore for this series of Community Fit. I see many faces that have joined us for either or both Move Lab Foundations on Tuesday and Dynamic on Thursday. And this is my favorite class of the week. This is our Reset and Restore. This month, we're going to be working on nervous system regulation. And then next month, we'll move into how to work with physical tension within the body. And then we're going to round it out with some bringing it all together and how that supports rest. And it's not just rest like physical rest. It's not just rest like napping rest, but in a lot of different variations of rest so that we can enter into our summer months a little more invigorated with a little more capacity and resilience and ready for whatever comes next. So I am your host, James. This class runs a little bit different than our Move Labs. Move Labs are like a typical movement class. This runs a little bit different. This is more like a course/class. We're going to do a fair bit of communicating. So feel free to use your chat. You can send things into the chat. You can send messages directly to Alicia and Raymond. They'll be able to support you. And then you can stick around afterwards and we can dialogue a little bit. So where do we even begin? Today, you're going to get a few of my favorite nervous system reset tools from my toolkit. But first, we got to figure out what's even the point of all of this? What are we doing with all of this? And sometimes it's really better to start off with what it's not, right? So what this is not is getting rid of stress. That can't be done. Like, that's not a thing. We get rid of stress when we no longer are alive. Why? Because stressors and the physiologic, the felt sense of stress is totally normal, totally natural, fully expected for any animal, you and me included, alive, right? What is abnormal is something that humans are particularly good at: holding on, latching on to, prioritizing, never getting rid of the stress. And I think of stress like a reflex. Stressors are things that are just kind of happening out in the world. That might be job stress, it might be relationship stress, it might even be exercise. Exercise is a version of stress. It might be political, it might be, any number of things. And those are things that are just happening out in the world. And when it interfaces with us, when we either consciously or unconsciously absorb it, and it holds hands with our particular nervous system, you and I do different things with those stressors, very much dependent on how you were raised, the life experiences you have, your network of support, meaning how much self-care you do, how your relationships handle that, so on and so forth. All stuff we'll be covering. And so we can experience the same things and have very, very different responses. And the ability to hold on to that stress response is something very, very common to humans. I think of that stress response in terms of like a reflex. Something is happening and my body reflexively acts or responds, reacts in a particular way. You and I are different. Them and you are different. All of us are different. That's why you're like, why are they so stressed out over this thing? And I'm not. Well, different history, different lived experience, different physiologic capacity. Or why aren't they stressed out by this thing? They should be stressed out by this thing. Well, different life experiences, different physiology, different mechanisms. So all of that is so important for me to let you know that so much of what you're going to be learning throughout the Friday classes in particular are options, choices, and a toolkit for you to explore and play with. Choose, I like this one, I don't like these two. This one feels really beneficial. I should keep practicing this thing. These over here, maybe not. I can't tell you. I can't do it for you. I cannot pull the stress out of you and give every single one of you exactly what to do because your nervous systems are different. When we get to the physical tension thing, same thing there. When we get to the rest thing, same thing there. All of us require different versions of rest. All of us carry tension differently and need different things to work through that. And in specific, all of us have different requirements, different nuances to our nervous systems. So, what does it have to all begin with? Something that we as humans, a couple of things that we as humans, adults, are just not as good at. And that is self-awareness and a little bit of curiosity. Self-awareness is what is working, what's going on with me right now. And curiosity is, what if I try this thing? Do I do this thing more? Do I do this thing less? Maybe I'm doing it too fast, too slow, too much. Maybe it's not right now. Maybe it's later. Curiosity is something that's quite literally cultured out of us through our school system. We are very, very prioritized through school system to find, to not be wrong and to find the fix and to get really good at it. It's convergent thinking. What we're requiring here is divergent thinking. I'm going to get curious about this thing. I wonder if this thing, and then self-awareness. What does stress feel like in me? What is that feeling? So think about this. What does a dysregulated nervous system in you feel like? How do you know you're dysregulated, stressed, anxious, overwhelmed, maybe even having a trauma response to something? How do you know? Does it show up in your jaw? Does it show up in your stomach? Does it show up as like dissociation? Do you get angry? What are the things? And you can put them into the chat, or you can just acknowledge it for your own self. What are your particular symptoms? Now, as you're thinking about it, I guarantee that is what I would call a stress fever at about 104 degrees. You're probably really good at knowing when you're very overwhelmed. I get really tense in my neck. I feel my jaw tense up. I feel my stomach get anxious. That's usually after my stress. There's a reflex, stressor, interfaces, reflex. Then there's like a fever that spikes. What I'm encouraging you to do is pay more and more attention for the next 3 months as to what your nervous system is picking up. And can we get better at noticing when it's easier to do something about it? Meaning instead of 104-degree temperature, maybe it's 100. Maybe it's 99-degree temperature. So self-awareness. What does it feel like when I get really stressed? Then let's even switch that self-awareness and go into a little bit of what we would call focusing. Focusing is something that we're going to come back to again and again and again and again and again. You might have heard it before, talked about as a body scan or so on and so forth. Here's how we're going to do this. And again, if you don't get it today, no worries. You're not expected to get it today. So many of us are just not good at self-awareness and curiosity because it's literally been programmed out of you. Stick with it. Keep trying, because I'm here to let you know it's the only way out of this stress mess. It's the only way to full body rest. It has to start with this. So here we go. You can have your eyes open. You can have your eyes closed. It's fully your choice. What do you notice in your body right now? What do you notice maybe down in your feet? Left foot versus right foot. How about in your legs? Maybe the totality of your legs. Maybe it's your knees. What do you notice in your left knee versus your right knee? In your hips? In your belly versus your low back? If you went a little higher, maybe it's up in your ribs. What do you notice in your heart, your lungs? The answer today might be nothing. I don't even notice it. And that's fine too. Noticing nothing is a noticing. Why can't I notice that? What would that feel like if I could notice it? How about in your hands? Right versus left. Neck, upper back, shoulders, jaw, ears, tongue, eyes, top of the head. Low body versus upper body. Front body versus back body, right versus left. Just noticing, what information do I sense in my body right now? And then turn that noticing somewhere else. What do I notice in my thoughts? Am I into this? Am I like, I'm on board, I'm with you? Or am I resistant? Nope, don't want to do this. This is too hard. Why aren't we here just doing the breathing stuff right now? What are my thoughts telling me? And then how about in the emotional body? The feeling, emotional body. What's the vibe of the moment? Am I happy to be here? Am I reluctant? Am I anxious? Am I worried? Am I in grief? Am I joyed? What am I noticing? So I have my physical body, my thought body, and then my vibey emotional body. What am I noticing? Doesn't have to be good, doesn't have to be bad. And in fact, by the end of today, it doesn't even have to be better. What we're looking for is not better. What we're looking for is, I'm noticing something. I'm putting on my scientific hat. I'm going to try a test. I'm going to now do some stuff. And then I'm going to notice how that changed. Maybe I get it right. If I get it right, maybe I move towards how I would like to feel. And if it's not the right thing, if it's not the right ingredient, maybe it made it worse. And maybe I don't need to do that thing. So here we go. If you've been with me for the rest of the week, we have started with physiological sigh, and we're just going to continue along with that theme. Physiological sigh is one of the most researched, studied breathwork techniques. Stanford and UCLA both have labs dedicated to it, and it's so simple because it's quite literally based on Sighing, how your body just naturally goes through the sighing process. And believe it or not, you and I all sigh at least one time every 3 to 5 minutes, whether you are awake or you are asleep. So what we're doing is just mimicking that. And it's a double inhale followed by a single exhalation. Again, that's an inhale, inhale, exhale. I'm going to demonstrate it once, and then together we're going to do it 5 times. So it's going to look and sound a lot like this. If you can go in through the nose, out through the mouth, all the better. If you can go a big inhale followed by a small little inhale, an exaggerated exhale, great. If not, just do what you can do today. So here we go. 5 times together, double inhale, single exhale. First round. 4 more. 3. 2 more. 1 more. And then, as if you were doing a scientific study or baking, cooking something, you got to taste it now. You got to check back in. What do you notice in your body, in your thoughts, in your emotional body? What has shifted? Did anything shift? And then go, if I like that feeling, maybe I can do this more. Maybe I do this at every stoplight or every morning that I wake up or before I go to work or after I go to work or on my lunch break. Now, next one, bring your hands together, get them warmed. They don't have to be warm. I just find it works really, really well. We're going to take our hands and we're going to place them onto the front of the throat. That's option number 1. Option number 2, jaw. Option number 3, chest. So I can choose here, I can choose here, or I can choose here. None of them are right. None of them are wrong. Which one works best for you? You're going to notice I keep switching, not that you have to switch. I just don't want you to copy me because what works for me is not necessarily what works for you. Now do a little check-in. And maybe you want to go back to the breathing thing, or maybe you want to do this sort of self-touch thing, or maybe you want to follow me and do a little tapping. We can start on our chest bone or collarbone. You can do both hands. And then begin to discern, do I like that? Some people this really agitates, and that's totally normal too. That's what your nervous system is telling you. Maybe for you, it needs to be a little bit more, or maybe it's this. Maybe it's a little bit slower. Maybe for you, it's not even here. Maybe for you, it's on the jaw or hairline. And you can do the breathing thing, or you can do the touch, or you can still do the tap. and then pause. Notice. You'll find that in most of my classes, I go slow, and particularly at the beginning of a series. Why? Because we got to really slow it down to understand it before we kind of pick up the pace a little bit. So this is intentional. Now, from there, we're going to go into what's called the orientation practice. Again, if you have been with me throughout the rest of the week or before, you already know the orientation practice. So go ahead and go into your orientation practice. This is your first time. An orientation practice looks and sounds a lot like this. You're going to sit. We're going to start with visual orientation. I just start to look around my space. And I go a little bit slower than I would like, right? I'm not racing around the room. I'm almost intentionally allowing, instead of looking, instead of scanning the room, I'm receiving what's in the room. My eyes don't actually physically look. They receive light. They receive information. It's passive. I can't look harder. I've got to almost relax. So I'm going to just allow myself to gaze around the room. I'm going to go into what's known as objective viewing versus subjective viewing. Objective viewing sounds like this: plant, candle, light, glass of water, computer, clock. Subjective viewing would be corner of the room that needs cleaning, thing that needs to be picked up, whatever it is. What would it be like to just name the things in the room? Now, if that's working for you, keep doing that. You can also go into orientation from a number of different senses. I find this one works best with my eyes closed, but I can start to listen. What do I hear? Right now I can hear like a little bit of creaking in the chair. I can hear the sound of my own voice. I can hear some faint street noise. Maybe I begin to listen for what's the closest sound to me versus what's the furthest away sound. So I can orient through my visual sense or auditory. I can also orient through my kinesthetic felt sense. How do you know you're sitting or lying or standing, whatever you're doing right now? How do you know you're doing that versus something else? Not thought, right? Like, I know I'm sitting, but I guess what I'm saying is I know I'm sitting in this chair right now because I feel my feet on the carpet beneath me. I feel my sits bones. I have like a wool liner on this. I can feel that kind of behind me. If I put my arms down, I can feel the wood of the arms. I can sense that the wall is close over here, not over there. And then I kind of expand outwards. How do I know I'm here right now having this experience? And what by that I mean, what temperature is your room right now? Is there any breeze? How do you know you're wearing the clothing you're wearing versus something else? What does it feel like? Are both feet touching the floor, or one or none? Is a full leg touching the floor? What does it feel like in your body right now from the outside world in? What's touching you? What are you touching? And it's sometimes a little harder unless you've just eaten something. What taste do you have in your mouth? Or what smell is in your room? A number of different orientation practices. So I can do the breathing. I can do a touch. I can do a tap. I can do an orientation. As you check in with your body, which one of those works best for you? Which one did you like? Which one did you enjoy? Were there any that didn't work for you? You can drop it into the chat, or you can just acknowledge for yourself. Now, we've covered a little bit of the why. We have some tools for the what. And now let's take it up a little bit. We're going to go into, like the observation stuff. Thanks, Julie. We're going to go into what's called pendulation. And this is going to take it up a little bit. And the reason I gave you the noticing, the focusing, is because that's essentially that's the gateway into the pendulation practice. And I gave you tools of breathing or touching or tapping or orientation of whatever it is that works best for you. So that if when we go into this pendulation exercise, you don't enjoy it or you get triggered by it, meaning like things get worse, or you don't, or it's just not working for you today. You have other things to do. Again, this class is all about autonomy and discernment. It is your practice. It is for you to own. Here are some options. Choose. And then discernment. Which one do I choose? And how do I do it? Well, you follow the class that we've kind of strung along so far. But pendulation is the thing that allows us to regulate our nervous system, because nervous systems aren't designed to be flat. They're certainly not designed to always be up in anxiousness, and they're certainly not designed to always be relaxed, or what we would call nervous system depression. We don't want to be down here. That's not the goal. We don't want to be up here. Not the goal. We don't want to be flat. Not the goal. What we want is to experience an up and then a down, and an up and a down. Cyclical, rhythmical. That's what every single one of us wants, whether we know it or not. So if you're stuck on the high anxiety or stuck in the low depression or just kind of flatline, like apathetic, neither here nor there, let's experiment. Notice somewhere in your body right now that feels especially good. Where might that be? Well, it could be your physical body, could be emotional body, it could be thought body. Right back to that focusing. It could be as small as like, oh, it feels really good in my own body. If I'm talking you through it right now, my left foot, I have like a really nice plush rug underneath where I'm at right now. My left foot is really grounded in that. And I feel the cushiness of that. That feels especially good. Out of everywhere in my body, that's what I would say right now. Yours might be different. Might be, oh, I really like the way I'm feeling in the chair, or a blanket wrapped around you, or whatever it is. That might feel really good. Maybe your heart feels really good, or your belly, or a hip, or whatever it is. It feels really good, or at least better than everywhere else. And notice that. How do you know that it feels good? What's the quality of that? Does it feel spacious? Does it feel warm? Does it feel vibrant? Does it feel pastel? Right? Felt sense doesn't make sense. Felt sense is when we kind of scramble for what might this thing feel like. Does it feel like the beach, or does it feel like the mountains? Does it feel like night, or does it feel like day? Metal or wood? What is the thing that it feels like? Does it just feel like a favorite memory? Does it just feel good? And then the invitation is to notice somewhere in your body that feels the opposite of how that place that feels good feels. What would feel the opposite in your body right now? If I was talking you through it, my left foot feels really grounded, feels really good. The back of my ribs, particularly just behind the armpits and a little bit south of that, feels vulnerable. Doesn't quite feels the opposite of my foot. And go back to the area that feels really good. We're going to call that area blue. That's your blue spot. And then the area that feels the opposite of the blue spot is your red spot. And the invitation is this. I notice the blue, and I'm there noticing. And then I go up and I notice the red. That's what pendulation is. I'm swinging between the two. And right now it's a practice. Right now it's intentional. Right now it's efforted. I have to go in and I have to look at the blue. And then I got to go in and I got to look at the red. And I'm swinging back and forth. Because if I only notice the things that feel good, I disembody. And if I only notice the things that are red, I become hypervigilant. A healthy nervous system goes, oh, I'm swinging. I'm pendulating, noticing this, and then noticing that, and noticing this, and noticing that. And I'm noticing this thing. And can I be there for a little bit? And then I'm noticing that thing. Now, for so many of us, finding a good area feels hard. Most of us are more predisposed to feel the bad areas. So maybe you notice the bad area, the red area, and you can't quite find the blue area. Well, notice the red area. And then instead of noticing the blue area, go into your favorite practice. Maybe it's physiological side, maybe it's an orientation, maybe it's a tapping. And then take a break from that and notice the red. Did it change? What's going on there? And then go back in. Pendulate back to the thing where you're stressed. So I'm pendulating between the two, noticing something enjoyable, whether it's in my body or it's a practice. And it doesn't have to be in my body. I can notice something outwards. Like I got my dog right here. Maybe I notice a painful shoulder, and then I notice my dog I love. And then I go back and I notice the shoulder, and then I notice my dog. So many options and choices, but it's that swinging. Something I enjoy, something I don't enjoy, something I enjoy, something I enjoy less, in my body or out of my body. But it's got to come to those fundamentals first. Self-awareness, getting curious about which of these tools, and then putting it into practice, choosing to notice something else, and then holding both as true. In my body right now, it is true that my foot is having an enjoyable experience and my ribs are having a less enjoyable experience. My body is capable of complexity. My physical body, my emotional body, my thought body. I am capable, you are capable of noticing both this and that, not one or the other, this and that. I am stressed at work, but I have a really great home life. I have a really stressful home life, but I have a really good physical practice. Whatever it is, noticing this and that. We'll be building more and more and more upon that. Classes will become more dense, more enriched as we go along. Then we switch. We get right into the physical body, taking care of some of the physical stuff because stress gets trapped places. And then transitioning right into rest, resetting. So we have a full course/class. I'll stick around for any questions you have. Thank you so much for joining us and hope to see you next week for more Move Lab and then reset and restore. So thanks everyone.
Awesome. Thanks, James. I had just told everyone right before you came on that I wasn't going on camera today because I was under the weather, but actually my back went out. And it was interesting doing this practice today. And I know that my back went out because of stress, right? So just this is a great reminder today to get back into these practices and hopefully have less of these flare up type of things.
Yeah. I had, it was probably about, I don't know, 6-8 weeks ago, I had my low back go out because of stress. And I've seen at that time, there were probably about 4 clients that came in, all had the same thing. It was actually coming from my hip and most of their hips as well.
That's really interesting because my significant other's back went out on Sunday. One of my work partners went out yesterday and then mine went out today. I'm like, what is happening in the world right now?
Tis the season. Tis the season.
Like everything's getting really busy and stressful again. Like I almost feel like life is normal again pre-pandemic. But in that, it's like this race to catch up and, get on top of things. And it's like my back was like, nope, not that fast. You need to slow down. Listen to your body.
Well, and then with that, this is something we'll be covering too, right? So pandemic is over And from a somatic perspective, we don't even start to see the ripple effect, the butterfly effect of big trauma for 3 to 5 years after the event has ended. So
Right.
even though it is over, we are still carrying the shadows, the echo of everything,
Right.
trying to recontextualize. So for my own self and for everyone out there, it's just hold that information. And so when things begin to happen, it's like, oh, look at this. I have some tools, I have some awareness around that. And we'll be talking about this too. It's like I'm expecting that there will be some of this stuff in my own body, in everyone's body. And so the expectation of it doesn't, I'm not activating it into the future. It's not like manifesting it. It's when it comes, I'm like aware and ready for whatever it is
Yeah.
versus being shocked. Like, oh my gosh, I thought it was over. No, not over, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Good stuff, James. Thank you. All right, everybody. Well, this was our first week of Community Fit for this session. So looking forward to seeing y'all next week. Have a great weekend and happy Easter and stay safe and warm. I don't know where the clouds came from. All right. Have a good day. Have a good day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.